I wanted to watch this. This is interesting. 10pound42 does a lot of really technical, hardware-oriented videos in regards to the equipment you would need playing Star Citizen. A lot of them. I would say a lot of his videos, the content, focuses on that. Super respect the work that he does. If you don't know who 10pound42 is, I am subscribed. Guy is awesome. Super intelligent guy. Very nice dude. And now he's going to be talking about something that I like when he does like opinion pieces. I want to see what he's got to say here. He says, Pyro is close. Server meshing is not. Let's listen to what 10pound42 says. And you know, I when 10pound42 says it, yeah, like I listen.
Lots of people have made videos about the ISC on server meshing, but I don't think anybody has really grasped exactly what CRG has said, because this was huge. Some massive changes, and I just don't think anybody's really talking about the right things to come out of this video. We're going to talk about this crazy post-it note, which changes everything. We're going to talk about the fact that Pyro, I think, is now closer than ever it was. And we've also got pros and cons to all this change in direction, because there's definitely some pros to this and there's some huge cons. So let's get into it. Up until this point in time, we've been told that server meshing and Pyro go hand in hand. There's no way that we can have Pyro without server meshing. But CRG have pulled a massive U-turn.
We know what the critical path is, which is that's the most important thing in these technology projects, because they get to be very large. And so sometimes you lose track of what the actual objective is. And our objective is to get a second solar system online as fast as possible, not just to...
In my mind, I could be incorrect. It is important to make sure that meshing is somewhat flushed out or begins before Pyro hits. Now, will they put the cart before the horse because Pyro? Probably. But let's hear what 10pound42 says.
Build server meshing technology, but it's to get the second solar system online.
When you actually do a jump to get to Pyro, we have to transfer authority from the Stanton DGS to the Pyro DGS.
DGs.
What we want to do, of course, is have multiple DGS per star system, but we're separating the actual jump gate stuff from the actual server meshing stuff, so that we get to the point so we can actually assure Pyro's delivery, and whilst we worry about the actual server meshing delivery. So we're actually, those are now, from our perspective, two different problems.
Right.
CRG have now broken the link between Pyro and server meshing, and they're now seeing it as two separate problems, which is a big change. And the critical path, the main objective that they're trying to go after, isn't to deliver server meshing. The main thing they're after is to get the second solar system online. Now, this change in strategy has some big pros and maybe some bigger cons, but we'll get back onto that in a minute.
Big cons with that, man. It's like all the work they did in CryEngine. I mean, it's about the closest analogy I can draw, and kind of the back steps we had to take to get towards Star Engine again. Like that's what could play out in my mind. Probably not the best analogy, but to get everybody on the same page. Well, let's keep going. I want to keep going.
Все of all, how are we getting Pyro without this full version of server meshing? How are they going to do this? First of all, we've got this all-seeing, all-knowing post-it note that I think has been strategically dropped by CRG. They've shown it a couple of times in their ISC. What we've got here, in my guess, and it is a guess, there's a lot of speculation going on here. I think we've got what they're going to do to get us Pyro, we'll call it V1, and we've got their long-term goal, which is proper server meshing, V2. We've got V1, and I think the key point here is that what they're doing here is much, much more simpler than what they're going to eventually do in V2. Here in V2, we've got multiple transitions between servers, potentially, and into space here, the wormhole, the jump point bit, and Pyro. Whereas what we've got here, and what the hack, I think, that they're going to do to get us to Pyro, is basically to say, well, we'll just have one transition where we pass you between the Stanton game server and the Pyro game server. And my guess would be that because Pyro has not got as much going on as Stanton and isn't particularly full, is that they've said, well, the Pyro game server can handle the jump point animation and going through the wormhole, all that sort of stuff. So what they've basically got to work on is this crossover bit here between Stanton and Pyro. Now, they mentioned in this video a number of times, let's see if I can do it here, they mention the fact that they've got to separate the replication layer out from the dedicated game server. So at the moment, we've got a dedicated game server for Stanton, and in that is the replication layer. What they're going to do is, we'll do it here. Here's my terrible writing. Call it the rep layer. They basically need to work on the tech and the structure and everything like that to remove it from the dedicated game server into its own service, replication layer, and then both dedicated game servers for Pyro and for Stanton will be able to communicate with that and know what's going on in the state of the universe, or the state of this shard, maybe, let's put it like that. And so that is crucial work, but that is basically the main part of the work that they've got to do. And then they've got to work out this transition. So the transition at some stage, say you're approaching the jump point in Stanton, you line up, you queue everything up, you start the animation. At some point, the authority for you, your ship, whatever's on your ship, the people on your ship, will have to be passed between Stanton's game server and Pyro's game server. And we probably won't see anything happen, it will all happen in the background, but you'll go through the jump point maybe, and then suddenly you're now under the full control of the Pyro game server, and that is what's keeping track of everything that's going on. Now, you might think, well, this is a bit of a waste of time because this isn't really scalable, and what we're doing here doesn't really help static server meshing in terms of, say we had Microtech as an example.
Right.
Over there. The idea was that Microtech might be its own, have its own static server mesh server. And so what we're doing here by having this very small kind of point where you can transition doesn't really solve the issues that having a planet have its own server, that they're not the same issue. But let's let them walk before we make them run, maybe. The things that they learn by doing this V1 will hopefully be able to be applied to whatever they're going to do in the future, and then eventually will hopefully be applied to what they might do in something like a planet's own server. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what they are trying to do. And obviously what could happen is that CRG will release part 2 of their video and prove that I'm completely barking up the wrong tree and this isn't V1 and V2, but my guess at this stage is that V1 is what they're aiming for to get us Pyro as quickly as possible. Let's get into the pros of this massive change. First of all, we are going to get Pyro, and we're going to get it much sooner than we would if CRG had stuck to the original plan. Now, whether or not Pyro actually changes...
This is like how Jerome Powell and the Fed printed trillions and trillions of dollars so that everybody keep their, collective heads above water, and we didn't even really need that stimulus for the most part, and they increased the money supply so much because they just wanted people to be fine and keep going forward and not have to deal with the real ramifications, the things that are going to be coming down the road to delay the inevitable. And that's kind of how I feel like this approach is. It's like they're giving us Pyro, but I feel like the work on the back end is going to be so monumental if they go this route. I think this might be like not the right route to go personally. And I think they're doing it just to get Pyro out the door,
The game, we'll see. That's maybe something we'll talk about a bit more in the con section. But having a second system, it can't be a bad thing. It's definitely going to be a good thing. Hopefully we'll get some interesting missions in Pyro itself. Hopefully, as we talked about before, we'll get a bit of cross-system gameplay, economy stuff starting to happen. There's a lot of things that CRG can explore through that. So getting Pyro can't be a bad thing in itself, even though it maybe doesn't come quite as we would have hoped for. But I think the bigger pro to all of this is that if they can get this method working, this is repeatable. We can still see more systems added in this manner without having a full server meshing thing working. So in theory, Nyx, which we know they've talked about before, they've been working on, and to a certain point is fairly finished. In theory, Nyx could be added in exactly the same way, just through a jump point. The Nyx server will do all the transition through the wormhole, through the jump point, and voila, you've got another system. So in theory, just doing this without even going further on and doing more work on the static server meshing allows CIG to add content in a way that they've just not been able to add en masse. I think one of the biggest pros of all of this is that by delivering Pyro, it will give the team actually working on static server meshing a bit of breathing room to actually just crack on with that. And so
that's a good point. That's a good
community won't be so kind of breathing down the neck of thinking, when's Pyro coming? When's Pyro coming? It's been the question that's been on everybody's lips for years now. But by getting something out in this manner, even if it wasn't quite what we thought they were going to do.
The rushing because they want to quell the voice. They want to quiet it down, and they're rushing to get Pyro out when I'm not even quite sure that they need to. I mean, everybody, of course, we would love Pyro. We would love another system, but at the expense of what, right? If all the work has to be redone or backwardized to get to the point where we're starting at right now, then I'm kind of debating this. This feels like, everybody wants Pyro now. So, hey, everybody, let's hop on this train and just get it out no matter damn the consequences. It's kind of how I'm feeling right now listening to this. And it worries me. It
allows CIG a bit of breathing room to just crack on in the background with the work that is going to take, unfortunately, I think,
totally
quite a long time. And the cons. Well, this might start to sound a little bit negative. Without server meshing, is adding another load of planets and moons really enough to justify the bump to 4.0 in the naming? In some ways, it doesn't matter because CIG are definitely going to call it 4.0, and maybe it is enough because a whole new system and the way those systems interact is a significant shift in the game. But I get the feeling that the game just isn't going to feel that much different from what we have now. It will just be a larger play space, and
we'll get more data. We will get more data. Like Aether brings up a really good point, and we will get more data from this. Aether says, think about this, DG360, with another system that will give them a live foundation to test multiple for actual meshing. No new system makes all meshing design theoretical, right? Yeah, I dig that comment, Aether. Totally dig that comment.
It's probably big con number 2. The numbers of players on the servers aren't going to change as far as I can tell.
Good point, Tech. Good point. Yeah,
it's still going to be the Stanton server is still going to be
the bright
absolutely
side
hammered.
of that.
The frame rate.
The bright side of them doing it this way. I mean, if we want to look at this the most positive way possible, the bright side of them doing it this way, when they put the cart in front of the horse, is at least we'll know more about the cart, and we'll know more about the horse. You know what I mean? Like we're going to get more data from it, so that's positive
for the server. Although CIG are working on it now, it won't be great. There's no sense of massive improvement because
but it
the
does
server
seem
meshing
backwards.
has improved.
It just seems kind of backwards in terms of development.
There is no server meshing. We're still going to have the Stanton game server.
Like I can guarantee you that the devs feel that way too. As a dev, I feel like the devs also feel like this is a backwards kind of move. I know how devs think. I've talked to enough of them throughout the years to know that they think that this is probably a cart before the horse situation, and that in fact, like, it feels backwards as a dev to do it this way, to push it out this way, to appease the masses, if you will,
And it still has to run
they
all
are,
the
and like Ash says, they are doing things that have not been done before. So this is all an experiment, right, Ash? There are going to be many obstacles they have to invent their way around because the tech literally does not exist until they make it. Let's see. I'm so happy to have Ash back here. Fucking love Ash. Dude, where have you been, bro? It is so refreshing to have you in here, dude.
Everything that's going on. So Stanton itself isn't going to be performing particularly impressively. Pyro might be different because Pyro, from what we know, the system doesn't have anywhere near as much going on as Stanton itself. So performance in Pyro from a server side point of view might be better. Who knows? But probably the big thing is that what we thought when we had server meshing, we thought it was a moment for a change in the number of people on each server. So obviously we've gone up to 100 player servers, but we thought that when we get Pyro, we get some sort of server meshing, which means hopefully better ability to scale and more players on each server, or on each mesh server. Anyway, that's why it's complicated. But with this, we're just getting what we've got now with more play space, and so it won't really change the game, I don't think. It just isn't going to change how we feel with that idea of massive gatherings, big player battles. That still isn't within reach because of this change. This change slows that down, if anything, because they're focusing on getting Pyro out first.
True.
The change of direction signifies that server meshing itself is still years away. I think proper server meshing, static server meshing at least, let's start with that, let's not talk about dynamic server meshing, is still a significant job still for CRG to do.
Absolutely, it is. Aether says, I also feel like they feel a lot of pressure to provide a new play space. Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Aether. They are aware that people have been waiting. They want to give something big. I think that's a good sign too. Maybe backwards, maybe. Sometimes that has to happen to move forward. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I can tell you a lot of them aren't probably happy about it. Like, on the real, I haven't. I should ask, but then they get all nervous when I ask them questions like that. You should see some of these talks I have, man. Don't say that, DG. Make sure you don't say that. I'm like, don't fucking tell me things. There's been a lot of things I have not been able to say, But I will say this. I can tell you they'll never probably tell me this much, but they're probably thinking it's not a good move. Like on the real with these guys, they're probably going to think it's not a good move.
And I think we'll play this clip.
Now we've got persistent entity streaming down there as a kind of foundational piece. That then opens up the opportunity to really kind of get this design that we've had, that we've honed, to really knuckle down and actually get it dashed out. And get
you can see it in the faces. I mean, like, look at the body language, people. I mean, look at the body language.
First version out. Static server meshing, that is. This is a piece of work that's going to last for quite a long time.
No shit.
It'll be ongoing stuff for quite a while.
Yeah, that was the understatement of the century. Hold on a second. I think it's time for a little bit of slow-mo on this. Hold on. It's slow-mo time. Let's listen to that statement in slow motion. Like we're all accustomed to.
This is a piece of work that's gonna last for quite a long time. There'll be ongoing stuff for quite a while.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. That was a poignant slow-mo. A very poignant slow-mo.
They know, CRG know, they've talked about inventing their way around problems in this video. They know that it's a big job, and I think...
No shit.
If you thought CRG were coming into some sort of landing place with server meshing or beta, getting to the place where the game is technically, from a tech side, pretty close to being done, I think...
What's up, Major Static? How you doing, bro?
I think it's not crazy to think that the full finished product, dynamic server meshing, all sorts of stuff, is 10 plus years away. And that's my opinion. I think it's not crazy to think it's going to take that long from where we are now. Hopefully that's completely wrong, but I think static server meshing is going to take a while, and I think dynamic server meshing is also going to take quite a long time.
No shit.
I hope I'm being overly pessimistic here, but I feel like they've got a lot of work to do, and they know.
Dude, they've got so much work to do. That's an understatement of the year.
Know it, and that is why they've gone in this direction. A lot of speculation in this video. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Keep it clean. Don't be too mean. But if you completely
keep it clean, you must not know DG360. Hey, that was a very well done video by 10pound42. Let me put the link in there. Help this dude out. I like his content. Go tell him DG360 sent you in the comments. I want to see you guys do that a lot more, by the way. When we have these highlights and you're going on the YouTube channels, take a little time out of your day, like a minute or two. Go in the description, click on the credits, go over to those channels, go over to these videos here, and say, hey, DG360 sent us. Like, let them know that we are sending people their way. They need to know that. They need to know that. You guys are doing amazing work helping out people. 10pound42 at 5,000 subscribers. The man deserves 10,000. Easy. 10pound42 deserves 10,000 subscribers, and he would have normally gotten 10,000 subscribers had the YouTube algorithm been from 2015. Unfortunately, that's not the new YouTube algorithm. We are the new YouTube algorithm. Hi, welcome to DG360. We help those out that need the help. That's what we do here. We're good people.